Assalamualaikum and good day to all of you. In this lecture video, I'm going to share another basic cutting process, which is manual hand sawing. Sawing is defined as to cut or separate materials by using a hand tool called a saw. A saw is a cutting tool equipped with a row of chisel-type cutting edges, or also known as teeth, along the narrow edge of its blade. Now let's look at the general parts of a handsaw. The first type of the shown handsaw is the crosscut saw. This is generally used for woodworking activities. The second type of the shown handsaw is the hacksaw. This type of saw is commonly used in metalworking activities, and this type of saw is used in your workshop activities. The first part of a handsaw is the handle. Next, we have the blade, and on the blade, we have a row of teeth that define the grade of the handsaw. Now, we look into the saw blade characteristic. Saw blades are characterized according to its material type, hardening level, pitch, and length. The first characteristic is the material type. Most handsaw are made with high carbon steel or high speed steel. The high carbon steel blade has high resistance to wear but has lower hardness, while the high speed steel blade is harder than high carbon steel and also offer resistance to wear. Next characterization is the hardness. Handsaws are graded into all hard or flexible grade. The all hard type is very brittle and usually made for motorized rotary saw, in which a high speed rotation of the blades is involved. The flexible grade allows users to control the sawing pace, change in sawing direction, or for cutting a curve. This type of blade is suitable for beginners. The next characteristic is the pitch. The pitch is determined according to the number of teeth per inch, or also called TPI. A coarse blade of 14 TPI is most suitable for soft material and thick workpiece. Soft and thick material produce more chips, so a wider pitch provides plenty of chip clearance compared to narrow pitch of higher TPI. They provide limited clearance that will make the teeth clog and resulted in more resistance in the sawing movement. Coarse blade with higher TPI is required for cutting tool steel, high carbon steel, and high speed steel, as this material is harder. Although TPI is slightly higher, there is enough of chip clearance to allow smooth cutting operation. For materials having section and smaller thickness cross-section, medium blade of 24 TPI that has narrow pitch is suitable. Coarser blade with low TPI will cause stripping of teeth or damaging the workpiece. Fine blade of 32 TPI is suitable for thin sheet metal and thin tubing for controlling straddles of work or damage on the cut cross-section.
Before you use your hacksaw for the first time, make sure that the blade is well tensioned. A loose blade could cause breakages or excess wear. Before you start any cutting operation with hacksaw, you need to make sure that your workpiece is firmly held as close as possible to the cut. This will minimize the amount of energy wasted by chatter. It's also a good idea to apply just a little oil to the sides of the hacksaw blade. This will reduce the amount of friction and make sawing easier. The steel that I'm cutting here is 5/32 of an inch thick 01 tool steel. It's 1.5 inches wide, but you can see that a good hacksaw and proper technique make short work of it. Here I'm demonstrating how you can use the 45-degree blade mounts on a frame to make cuts that most people probably think would be far too much for the humble hacksaw. The frame is angled at 45 degrees while the blade is still vertical. This allows you to make deep cuts without the frame getting in the way. Here I'm cutting a strip off a 6-inch wide, 3/8 thick piece of aluminum. This cut took around 5 minutes, which when you think about it is actually not too bad for a humble hacksaw.
From the video, it can be summarized that first, before begin the sawing operation, we need to measure and mark the precise spot or location to cut on the workpiece. Next, check and make sure that the blade is well tensioned. It is optional to apply oil to blade to reduce friction and generation of heat during sawing operation. The workpiece is firmly held to vise with the line of cut as close as possible. This is to minimize the vibration during cutting process. And then, when the blade reaches the position where the depth of cut is deeper than the saw frame, rotate the saw frame outward. A hacksaw is of flexible grade that allows change in the saw position at the same time maintain the vertical cut line. Care and maintenance of a hacksaw. First, mount the blade with its teeth pointing forward as the cutting is done in forward stroke. Change the blade if some teeth are broken. Check for suitable tension of blade to the frame. Too much tension will easily break the blade during cutting operation. Less tension will loosen the blade and make it dismount. Apply some lubricant to blade to minimize friction and generation of heat during cutting process. Before storing, loosen up blade a bit to release tension and apply oil. This will make the blade last longer and prevent oxidization. As a precaution step, make sure that the blade is securely fixed to the frame before you start the cutting process. Double check that the workpiece is firmly held to the vise. Correct body, hand and feet positioning is also important. Awkward body part positioning will make it difficult to carry out the cutting activities and prone to accidents and injuries. That's all for now. Thank you very much for watching.